Dr. Todd Olson, professors, faculty members, graduates, parents, alumni, friends, and allies of the Asian and Asian American communities. Welcome to the second Asian Heritage Ceremony.
My name is Harkar Sindhu,
And my name is Michael Loy.
and we are this year's ceremony coordinators.
Today we continue Asian Heritage Ceremony as a Georgetown tradition.
It is exciting to see how many people have shown up in support of the Asian community at Georgetown.
When I entered Georgetown as a freshman 10 months ago, I did not foresee how much my Asian American identity would be challenged, or how much it would evolve over the course of 1 year. Fortunately, I have found my community and family on campus, many of whom are sitting here today as graduates in class of 2012, and have helped me in my transition and taught me to embrace my Asian heritage with pride and dignity. I am thankful for this family, and I'm so happy to be here to support my mentors and our community.
As Michael said, we are here to celebrate and honor our Asian Pacific Islander American, APIA, and international Asian students, as well as allies who have helped to contribute and advance the Asian community at Georgetown. This ceremony joins the legacies of Harambe, Despedida, and Lavender graduation in that it aims to recognize the achievements of the graduates and celebrate the cultures and legacies that have shaped our paths at the hilltop and beyond. Not only that, but we are recognizing the struggles and successes of our parents, grandparents, and ancestors upon coming to this country. We are acknowledging our collective history and the individual journeys our families have made to get to this moment in time. Graduates, please take a moment to thank our family and friends by giving them a round of applause. You will begin to understand the importance of community and collaboration. It is up to the future leaders of our campus community to carry on this tradition that was born from celebrations rather than segregation. It was conceived out of a strong need to honor all of who we are. As you pack up and leave on Sunday, keep these thoughts in your minds when you travel beyond the gates to become lawyers, writers, entrepreneurs, artists, doctors, political activists, travelers, or even mountain climbers. Whether you were born and raised in Manila, San Francisco, Beijing, or Oklahoma City, you are creating what Asian Pacific American is, just like me. Know that your respective stories matter and that they enrich and add to the multi-layered complexity of the APA experience. Now I would like to invite Hansky Sanchez, later followed by William Tran, to the stage, who will give their student reflections. Thank you.
Parents, mentors, and friends, good afternoon. 4 years ago, I decided to go to Georgetown, and that meant leaving the Philippines and moving to America for 4 years. So the first thing I looked for were fellow Filipinos, and a mutual friend got me in touch with a junior who was also from the Philippines. And when I visited campus on Georgetown Day 2008, she introduced me to all Club Filipino and welcomed me to a family on the hilltop. And after 4 years, I would really like to thank the people who've shaped my life and who've meant so much, be they in Club Filipino or people I just know individually in this crowd. And at the same time, I'd also just like to respond with awe at what so many people here have been able to do, be it choreographing countless dances or just cooking all that wonderful food and just having all these get-togethers and fun, weird times together. And that's wonderful. So then looking back at my experiences at Georgetown, finding fellow Filipinos, finding other Asians and international students, that was part of the plan. But what I didn't expect was joining the ballroom dance team, taking pictures for the Hoya, becoming active in the Catholic campus ministry, and singing in the mass choir. These are things which I never thought I'd ever be doing, and yet 4 years later, I stand here with those memories, with those experiences. And I think what Georgetown has been, it has been a place of opportunities for me to grow out of my own insecurities and reservations. And in effect, I've been discovering what I love doing. But as I speak to you here during Asian graduation, I'd like to focus on one part of my college journey. And I'm a psychology major, and I wanted to enter the academia. But I felt that as in my studies, I owed the Philippines something, that I did not go to an American college to leave my home country behind. I thought that I wasn't here merely to study psychology, because frankly, anyone else can do that. I thought what was special about me was that I could use psychology to look at the Philippines. And so my thesis examined forgiveness in Philippine and US populations. It involved working over the summer at the University of the Philippines and continuing my research back in Georgetown during my senior year. But the best part of my research really came during the actual presentation of my results. I had a run-of-the-mill poster presentation prepared when one of the professors from the University of the Philippines suggested that I should include some gimmicks. It wasn't a Filipino presentation unless it was interactive, unless it was fun, and so unless it had a lot of puns. So basically, I put next to my poster a cold slice of pizza, and I started my presentation saying, you know, they say revenge is a dish best served cold. So isn't cold food bland? You know, like this slice of pizza. So as I move on to my discussion, let's move on to something warm and forgiving. And with this, I continued on to my discussion. It was simple. It was a simple little joke, and I don't really care who ended up laughing about it. But for me, it was something else that was not of Georgetown. It was a little piece of home. In that way, it was not so much about writing a paper on the Philippines, but really letting that Filipino brand of humor permeate through my life and through what I do. And that little pizza gimmick is what I remember best about the presentation day. So it's not necessarily, what I did in college was not so much about doing something Filipino as it was really doing something in a Filipino way. And I've begun to realize that being Filipino is something subtle. It's more a way of life than the flag I carry or kind of the national costume I wear. It kind of goes in the kind of songs I sing and why I joined the mass community at Georgetown, why I loved this religious participation. These were all things that came from how I was raised in the Philippines, and these are things that I try to continue in my own way. So in sum, we're not merely here to praise contributions and achievements in the Asian American community, although there is much value in researching pertinent issues, being active in these clubs, and advocating for various rights and forms of awareness. I feel that at this point, during our commencement, we are here to reflect on what we have done and accomplished, but it's really to see how our identity has shaped that, how being Asian American, how being an international student, how being even interested in the culture has gotten us to start asking some questions and has gotten us to go to sign-up tables. But in the end, it's also seeing how our entire lives have begun to be inflected by this identity that we hold. And that's, be it in the humor, in the kinds of processed canned meats we love eating, in the way of thinking that we use. And so this reflection is important because we enter a world where we don't necessarily have the Asian American Student Association or Club Filipino. There's not necessarily that freedom to write papers on the issues that trouble us about our identity. But these changes do not lessen the things we love, be it dancing, writing papers, karaoke, or spam. And with my thesis, these little cultural things could be a springboard for something meaningful. But like my poster presentation, it could lead to a finishing touch that is truly mine. And I suppose that the reception to the pizza gimmick was lukewarm and mildly amused at best. I always said that it was better delivered in Filipino. But it was my joke. It came from who I was as a person. So it was funny for me, and it made my thesis so much sweeter in a way no one else could really understand. And that's what my identity has been. It's not really a big wave that everyone got to see crashing on the shore, but an undercurrent that drove what I did and made me happy doing it. And so, as I end my undergraduate career, as I commence, I present what I've done and I let the world take it for what it is. Thank you.
I begin, I wanted to take some time to kind of give a round of applause to the people who made this event possible. So I want to thank the volunteers who, whether they're freshmen, sophomores, or juniors, who stayed behind to help us have the celebration possible, but also for Michael and Harky, who planned the celebration, found the funding, found the speakers, and allowed this event to be possible. So why don't we just take a few seconds. So Georgetown for me began in a state of crisis. In particular, an identity crisis. You see, several hours after stepping across that front pearly gates of Georgetown, I was asked that dreaded question. Are you Filipino? OMG, WTF, LOLs, SMH, what? No, I'm not Filipino. I'm half Chinese and half Vietnamese. Oh, okay, so do you speak Vietnamese? No. How about Mandarin? Nope, I speak Cantonese. Really? So what do your parents speak? Well, my parents speak Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. Okay, so let me get this straight. Your parents are from Vietnam, yet you're half Chinese and half Vietnamese. You don't speak either of the major languages of both countries, you speak a broken language called Cantonese, and furthermore, you don't look Chinese or Vietnamese, or even a hybrid of the two. Instead, you look Filipino. Wow, you are an identity crisis waiting to happen. And 2 hours later, it happened. I was in crisis. Who am I? What words define and describe me? What do I hold in common with other Asians at Georgetown? So like any other lost and confused soul, I began a process of logical deduction. According to AP Biology and AP Chemistry, of which I scored 5s, winning, I was a human being. Genus, Homo, species, sapien. And according to AP Human Geography and AP World History, double 5, double winning, I was of Asian origins. And then I was stuck. I was running out of AP exams, and all I knew was that I was of Asian origins. Now, according to AP English Literature, of which I got a 4, I could speak English. And according to AP Art History, which I got a 3, Asian fail, I sometimes like art, but not always. But then, it dawned on me. No words in the English language could describe my Asian identity or even me. As a fragmented and now confused Asian, I needed a more universal language. A language that could thread a connection between me and the greater Georgetown community. That language was numbers. Because according to AP Calculus and AP Statistics, I was Asian. Not of Asian origins, but full-on ching-chong, ling-long, ting-tong Asian. And my Asian identity and experience at Georgetown has been defined in numbers ever since. The first example of this application is in money, my favorite. After all, as treasurer of BSA, the Vietnamese Student Association, my favorite 4 words are, show me the money. And with the greater Georgetown community, it was no different. My community idol, Russell Peters, was right when he said, there are 2 groups of people who cannot do business together. Asian people and Georgetown financial aid people. Asians cannot live without a free education, and Georgetown financial aid cannot give you a free education. Our objective is to keep every penny. And their objective is to not only take every penny now, but also to take every penny once you leave. Genius! So I would like to thank the parents and the siblings and the professors and our Vice President of Student Affairs. I would actually like to thank Georgetown Financial Aid. Thank you for enhancing my proficiency in Excel and engaging my stereotypical tendencies toward free things. Things like freedom, free food, free printing, And last, let's not forget the real reason why most of you are here today, the free stools. And the second example is time. Time, of course, is also free. For time has been how we have defined and lived our 4 years here at Georgetown. 1 hour lecture by walking through productions, 1 week preparing and practicing for Asia Fest, and 1 month obsessing over Asian Heritage Week, and most importantly, Linsanity. But time is also finite. After 1 hour, a lecture ends. After 1 week, the show comes to a close. After 1 month, the insanity begins to die down. And after 4 years, the final pages of our Georgetown experience are written. As my Chinese professor, John Laosho, once told me, you only have a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon you, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. Friends, if I take out my trusty iPhone, we have spent, over these past 4 years, 1,537,920 minutes together. Minutes of dashing and dodging trying to put on events. Minutes of eating countless slices of Domino's pizza at general body meetings because that was clearly the cheapest option. And minutes of conversations spent getting to know each other a little bit more every single day. But if I think about it, it's not the minute that matters, but rather the second. For it is the second of life we have lived, the seconds of laughter we have shared, and the seconds of love that we have forged with each other that will ultimately come to define our Asian experience here on the hilltop. Class of 2012, it has been a pleasure spending 92,275,200 seconds with each and every single one of you. Hoya Satsu.
I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for the ceremony. Christian O serves as the Executive Director of Collaboration DC, the first tri-state area, all-volunteer, nonprofit Asian American talent competition and showcase that seeks to empower through entertainment. Collaboration DC is advancing this national movement of Asian American empowerment by providing a platform for the past 2 years of APA communities and encouraging the artistic development of Asian American creative channels of all ages in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan region. Christian works full-time as a senior training management consultant for the Department of State, where he conducts training for foreign service officers. Christian dedicates his other free time by serving as a board member of the National Association of Asian American Professionals D.C. chapter, as well as the D.C. Film Alliance, a resource hub for everything film, TV, and media related. Formerly, Christian O was the president of the DC Asian Pacific American Film Festival for a number of years. In 2009, Christian was awarded the DC Mayor's Community Service Award for his contributions to serving the Asian American community through his pioneering spirit, exceptional leadership, and passionate service. Christian is a network of Korean American Leaders Fellow, visiting North Korea and creating positive community connections with other Korean American leaders across the country. He has advanced degrees in international business, information technology, human resource development, and filmmaking from George Mason, Georgetown, and George Washington Universities. I'd like to welcome Christian O.
First of all, I'd like to give another round of applause for both Mr. Santos and Mr. Tran. If they decide to pursue pursuits in entertainment, they should come talk to me. So let's give another round of applause. The second thing that I'd like to ask, there's a lot of seats. I don't know if you're holding these seats for anyone else, but I'd like for everyone to try to move up closer. Let's not be the stereotypical Asians that sit in the back. Come on, please. Take 2 seconds to move up closer. I think we can fill in seats here. You don't have to be shy, please. All right? Come on, guys. Stand up. If there are seats that are available in the front, please come on down. Oh, there are signs? I'm sorry. All right. For the reserved seats, okay. But these are the paid seats that are still available. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is, we jest about the stereotypes that exist within our Asian American community. But I want people to realize that we need to be breaking those stereotypes. I apologize, first of all, I am suffering from a summer cold and I don't have this amazing canned keynote speech, but I have bullet points on this iPad. I love technology, by the way. And I will do my best to inspire all of you. So let's, at first, I want to say I was both shocked and honored to have been asked by Harkiran and the Georgetown University to be a guest speaker for the 2012 Asian Pacific Islander American Students graduation ceremony. I truly feel undeserving of this honor. I feel there are much more distinguished and esteemed speakers out there besides myself, but I am very humbled that I'm here. As you embark from the end of your academic journey, I believe the best advice I can give you is comprised of 3 words: embrace, empower, and elevate. Embrace. Embrace your heritage. I mean, let's be honest. There have been times we've all been a little embarrassed about our heritage. Let me give you a little background about myself and explore a little deeper about that. I'm the oldest of 4 sons, Korean American family. I always had the pressure of my father wanting me to pursue the same academic and career pursuits as himself. He's a PhD in ceramic science engineering. He was one of the founding, team members of the night vision goggles. So there was a lot of pressure put on me to be an engineer. I ended up working hard throughout high school and then got a full ride to Penn State in engineering. And then after a year and a half, I realized I hated engineering. I truly hated numbers, except for numbers with dollar signs. So I realized that this was not a career path for me. So being naive and young at the time, I guess that's why they call it a sophomore year, I was realizing that I wanted to change majors. So I changed my major from the School of Engineering to the School of Arts and Sciences, not knowing, and I didn't receive any emails back then, I didn't receive any notices, that I would lose my scholarship. So my father started getting these late tuition payment notices, which came directly to him. And he calls me one day, he's like, what's going on? Why am I getting late tuition payment notices? And I said, oh. And then it dawned on me, being as stupid as I was and naive, that I had lost my scholarship. Thus, I had to change my approach to my academic career. So I ended up transferring out. I applied to William & Mary, UVA, Virginia Tech, and George Mason. What I wanted to do was not engineering. What I wanted to do was get involved in politics. I felt that there was something, especially in international politics. So I decided, well, UVA, I grew up in a southern Virginia town called Roanoke, and it just reminded too much of Roanoke, and I didn't want to go to UVA. William & Mary, also a little out there in the boonies, and I thought, no, not what I wanted to do. And Virginia Tech, way too close to home. I did not want to be close to my friends. So I realized that George Mason, right in the heart of Washington, D.C., why not? Well, having no money and pretty much being disowned by my father, I ended up living in my car for a week, trying to find a job and a place to live. I did that and started paying for my own way at George Mason. I graduated from George Mason with a degree, still not speaking with my father. Again, we have these embarrassing moments. I remember in junior high, you know how your mother would pack you lunch and you'd be like, oh, I have kimchi, I have squid. And a lot of times when you're in junior high, they want to trade lunches with you. And I'm like, what am I going to do with squid? Yeah, I would really love that the Frito-Lay bag, the chips there, where you take squid. I mean, these are things that you just can't deal with. So, after graduating from George Mason, my father still not speaking with me, I realized that I wanted to pursue additional academics. I went on to get a master's degree in business and then a master's degree in information system technology. I'm currently still working on a doctorate in human resource development. And then I remember my time in Georgetown because I was actually doing a graduate certificate program in international business. And I remember this exact room. I don't know why we're here. It's either for a lecture or a guest speaker, but it brings back memories. So you have to remember, you have to embrace that heritage. Being Korean American, I remember, friends would come over and they're like, why are you taking off your shoes? So it's something we do every day. Why is it that, there's Korean radio in the background? We're like, oh, Dad, can you turn that down? I have friends over. Again, we had these little embarrassing things about our cultural heritage that we were like, well, growing up in America, what do we impart and what do we share? So please, I'm asking you, embrace your heritage, regardless whether it's the curry, whether it's the Chinese dumplings, or whether it's the Korean kimchi. You should be embracing it. To paraphrase Confucius, our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail. Okay? I felt that way, especially after making my change of major from engineering to international politics. The sad thing is, after graduating from George Mason, I was going to take the Foreign Service exam that day, but it was the same day as a interview for a job because I had so many college bills. So again, Mr. Tran, in terms of college financial aid, I had none. So again, it was just something that I realized that, well, do I take the Foreign Service exam or do I go for the job interview? Well, I went for the job interview and ended up getting a job to help pay off my bills and then pursue other academic pursuits. So again, don't be afraid to fail, but again, get up every time you do. Some other things, we all have interesting names. When we embrace our heritage, we should also embrace our names. A good friend of mine said that he wanted to name his children, or his first son anyway, something that was memorable, that could guarantee him leadership. Well, he thought Martin Luther King would be a great name. And then both his wife and myself, I said, are you crazy? Do you know how much pressure that is on your kid? Well, he said, okay, I digress. He goes, how about Abraham Lincoln? And I said, no, that's not going to work. So ultimately, he's a son of a preacher, so he ended up with Solomon King, which I thought was a fantastic name. You guys know all about Solomon, right? Very wise. What else did he have? Come on. A lot of wives and concubines. So he was an Asian player. Let's give it up for that. Also my last name, O-H. My wife and I, we don't have any kids yet, but we always say, I could really mess up my kid's psychology. I can name them Cheerio, Tomorrow, Spaghetti-O. My favorite, of course, is Oreo. Though we joke about this, again, embrace your cultural heritage, even your name. Okay? The other thing that you should embrace is your passion. My passion, even though now I'm working at the State Department, training Foreign Service officers every day, it's a weird circle that I've reached, having wanted to be a Foreign Service officer, now I'm teaching Foreign Service officers. That's not where my passion lies. That's just my Clark Kent. My Superman side is this empowerment through entertainment, to have more Asian Americans in front of you. And when you dream, you need to dream big. Okay? Even if you can achieve those little successes. Harriet Tubman once said that every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach the stars to change the world. If you know about her and what she did to change her world, it's amazing. So you should be always seeking ways to change your world, whether it's within your small scope of your family and friends, to your community, or something even greater, nationally or internationally. My dream, I always wanted to be, an entertainer, but that's not the reality of my parents and all of us who've grown up in an Asian American family. They never seek to support things of whether it be athletic ability, entertainment ability. But you know what? I think you can have both. I think you can have also the academics as well as pursuing your hobbies, your passions. I want more APIAs in front of the camera, in roles of community service, in politics. Jeremy Lin should not be a one-time thing. There should be others out there. and you should always continue to embrace that. The other thing that I said was empowerment. Empower. You need to empower yourself. Never be the minority in all that you do. What I mean by that is to be vocal, take a stance, and feel free to act. You know, as APIAs, we've always been labeled as the, quote, model minority. And it is now really the time for us to collaborate and be empowered. You also need to empower others. I mean, I teach Asian American Studies at University of Maryland, and I tell my students there that it is very important to empower others. You know, how do you do that? Well, you look for ways, positive ways, to empower others. I mean, let's face it, we don't have the luxury of our Hispanic brethren, where they all speak the same language, regardless of whether they're from Colombia or whether they're from Mexico. We also don't share that same history of oppression and suffrage that both African Americans and Jewish Americans share. With Asian Americans, we have internal conflicts amongst ourselves. We don't even speak the same languages. And there's even cultural differences within our own Asian American community. So how do we empower ourselves in a positive light? Well, focus on what you're embracing. Like I said, whether it's your heritage or whether it's your passions, you should be able to share that with others so that they too can be empowered. Again, never be the person sitting in the back row. Always try to move up front. And bring your friends and colleagues and those of your community with you. It's interesting, though, that in that empowerment and what I've done in the past, I guess I've been in the DC community now for a good 15 to 17 years, and I've seen a lot of change. I remember that all the Korean Americans were strictly in Annandale, Virginia, or the Chinese Americans up in Bethesda and Rockville, or the Vietnamese Americans all over in Falls Church, Eden Center. There's been a lot of exchange, and that needs to continue to happen, whether it be at the college level, the community level, or the national level. I think that's something that we all can get active in. And the last word, elevate. When I say elevate, elevate your skills, your education, and most importantly, your beliefs. Make sure you always move to action. Because as you leave Georgetown University today to pursue work, or education, or to find yourself, trust me, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Elevate your thinking as well as your actions. Help elevate each other as well. The one thing that I realize that we don't do enough is we need to be looking behind us on those ladders, whether they be the ladders of career, the ladders of social, or ladders of education. We need to be helping others climb up that ladder. And I think you guys can all do that, regardless of whether you're Chinese American, Korean American, South Asian American, doesn't matter. Help pull up everyone that embraces that Asian community. You know, be a mentor, and never be afraid to ask for mentorship. In this day and age of YouTube, Facebook, social media, and more, keep yourselves elevated in the way you represent yourself. Be reciprocal in whatever you do. If someone gives to you, always give back. Be ethical, right? We hear so many things of, the scandals and the unethical actions of our corporations and our government. Look to success as a state of being rather than the accumulation of things and wealth. And with any wealth and power that you should receive, wield it responsibly. For what you do with yourself is also what you become. I leave you with these famous words from a doctor that I respect and admire. You have the brains in your head. You have the feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. You are the guy who will decide where to go. And the same with you guys all. You guys decide where you guys are going to go. I leave you with that. Again, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Christian O, for that inspiring speech. Now I would like to invite to the stage Jacqueline Mack, our Program Director for the Center for Multicultural Equity and Access, and Professor Christopher Shin of our English department. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Good.
You good?
Great.
You can do better than that. How are we doing?
Good.
There we go. Thank you. Again, my name is Jacqueline Mack. I'm a program coordinator here at Georgetown University. I started. What was that? I started here in mid-September, so I'm very honored here to send you all off, even though I haven't met most of you yet. But yes. So our first graduate is Nafis Ahmed. Bessie Chan. Jennifer W. Chow. Andrew Chen. Yana Chi. David Chen. Young Choi. Roger Chu. Christian Fagel. Sarah Higa. Sorry about that. Ray Huang. Youngmin Huang. Emily Japp. Jessa Ann Julio. Silky Kadakia. Satinder Kaur. Stephanie E. Leo. Juliet Munn. Samuel Osea. Priyanka Nargankar. Christine Park. Emily Pring. Omar Rahman. Hansky Santos. John Tetsudo Schuler. Jason Hsu. Yujin Song. William Tran. Joseph Vithaifel. Maria Hyun Webb. Maggie Wei. Daniel Yang. Doris Yu. Colleen Zhang. And Arnab Sarkar. And those are the graduates from their college, and we give them a round of applause. And now I would like to invite Professor Dennis Williams and Shiva Subramanian from the LGBTQ Research Center to present the next set of graduates.
Yay!
Hello everyone, how are you?
Fantastic.
All right. So this is the class of MSB. Kara Chen. Jerry Cheng. Gary Chung. Joyce Chung. Karen Fong. Hee-Ju Kim. Jen Ko. Derek Lee. Gary Lee. David Liu. Ang Nguyen. Christine Tree Donovan. Radha Ramjawan. Parker and Sindhu. Dion Singh. Frank Ye. The next are all from the School of Nursing and Health Studies. Neil Barapet. Katrina Dewey-Gore. Thea Quinn Johnson. Kimberly Kim. Liz Liu. Rick Lick.
I'm gonna cry.
Joaquin Gonzalez Saavedra. Jane Thomas. Priya Vora. The rest of the class, School of Foreign Service, Chris Allen. Julian Fu. Victor Ho. Hannah Kang. Danielle Kim. Richard Koo. Nakali. Melinda Lee. Kimberly Lai. Nastasia Polchera. Jess Su. Linda Webb. Rebecca Yang. Charles Jack. Congratulations again, class.
We would now like to invite Mr. Christian O to the stage. So, on behalf of the Asian American Ceremony Planning Committee, we'd like to present you with a statement on behalf of the
Congratulations to all graduates.
Alright, now we would like to recognize certain individuals on campus who have contributed to the Asian American community. Audience, please save your applause until everyone is standing. Please stand if you have served on the following boards during your time here at Georgetown. Asian American Student Association, Club Filipino, Club Singapore, Chinese Student Alliance,
CSA President!
Hawaii Club, Hindu Student Association, Japan Network, Korean Student Association, South Asian Society, Taiwanese American Student Association, Thai Society, and Vietnamese Student Association. You may now be seated.
Good job, guys.
Now Now we would like to recognize the recipient of the Senior Soka Diversity Award for her efforts to further the ethnic community here at Georgetown. Bessie Chan, please stand. Finally, we will recognize a recently named Fulbright Scholar, Jason Su. Please stand.
There are a number of departments and individuals that we really needed the help of throughout this process. First, I'd like to recognize the partnerships that are listed on the back of your program: Asian Studies Department, Campus Ministry, Diversity Action Council, LGBTQ Resource Center, Office of the President, Office of the Provost, Senior Class Committee, and the Student Color Alliance. Thank you so much for your contribution. I would also like to take a moment to thank a few individuals. First off, Professor Dennis Williams, Erica Cohen-Dare, Chris Butterfield. Thank you for guiding us throughout this process and making sure that we had enough money to fund these beautiful stoles. And lastly, I'd like to thank one of the co-founders who is with us today, Tweet Tran. Literally at any hour of the night or the day, helping us through this process. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to introduce Professor Christine So, who is an associate professor in the English department and also the director of undergraduate studies, to deliver the closing remarks. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? I think that maybe I'll just follow up on what Harkran said this earlier in the ceremony about celebrating our accomplishments and celebrating our history. If I tell you, I suppose, a little bit about my own personal history. About 100 years ago, my grandparents, on both sides, and it's all a little bit fuzzy because my parents never really talked about it much, but apparently they left Fujian province in China and they each moved to the Philippines. My father's family settled in Davao and my mother's family settled in Manila. My father went on to get a medical degree, and while he was in medical school in Manila, that's where he met my mother, and they fell in love and they got married. Shortly after that, my father decided that he wanted to get a PhD in biochemistry. And they applied to come to the United States in 1965, which was just about the time that the United States opened its borders in a substantial way to Asian immigrants. Up until that time, Asian immigrants to the United States had been severely limited, and Asians couldn't really become citizens, actually, until the 1950s. So my father, he went to the University of Washington, got his PhD there, and he ended up moving to Miami, Florida, where he became a professor in the School of Medicine. I was born in Seattle, and I grew up in Miami. And I was, I suppose, a somewhat clueless child, and went and applied to college in my clueless fashion, and went to the prettiest college I could find, which was not really the way to go. But anyway, while I was there, I was going to major in computer science, and my father had told me that he wanted me to become a doctor. And he was very much, and from the time I was little, I used to go with him to his lab on Saturdays, and I would play with the pipettes, and I would play with the little test tubes, and I would make little ice sculptures, and he really felt that science, I was meant to be in science, and I was meant to be a doctor. Well, you know, from the introduction, I didn't really go that way, but why don't I go ahead and tell you that so many of my students already know this. My freshman year in college, I took a biology course, and I flunked every test until I got to the final, when the professor sat me down and said, "You might want to rethink what you're doing, your strategy of success here in this class." So I finally ended up with a D in biology that semester and finished out my freshman year on academic probation. Around that same semester, I had fallen in love. And that summer, my father caught a letter I had written to my boyfriend, who was white, saying how I couldn't wait till we could get married, etc., etc., etc. So at that point, I would say there was distress in the house about where my future might be heading. I then went on to a solid sophomore year where I got a C- in chemistry. And I think I tried very hard to get back to my Chinese roots, and because my parents spoke Fukienese, along with Tagalog and English and Mandarin, but not at home, I thought I would learn Mandarin, and I think I ended up getting a C+ in Chinese as well. So, yes, again, great consternation at home about where this was all heading. But the one thing that my father had taught me, and the one thing he really valued, was reading. And from the time I can remember, he says it was at the age of 2, but now that I have a child, I know he's lying. But, you know, that I was reading by the age of 2, and all I could ever do was read and read and read. And as an Asian American growing up in Miami, Florida, with very, very few Asian Americans in my high school, books were a way that allowed me to make sense of this crazy, crazy world that I was trying to figure out. So, you know, the medical thing wasn't really going very well, and, you know, finding my heritage, that wasn't really going very well, but I was taking a substantial number of English classes. 7 English classes, 8 English classes, 12 English classes, 14 English classes, and I finally had this point where I thought, okay, now what am I going to do with this? I knew how to read books, and I knew how to go to school, so I applied to graduate school in English. Yes. And when my father found out about this plan, and by that time I had actually miraculously gone into an English graduate school, he sent me a newspaper article, and I opened up the envelope. I still vividly remember standing by my mailbox. I opened up the envelope, and it was a newspaper article telling me, celebrating the life of a man who had recently won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. And buried in paragraph number 2 was the fact that he too had gotten his PhD in English back in the day. So my father wanted me to know that there was still hope, that I could go get my degree in English and do this reading nonsense, and then I could, you know, do what I was meant to do, really. And somewhere in there, I went to graduate school. I ended up getting married to that boy that I was in love with freshman year. So there, I did marry him after all. Yeah, there was a big fight. I remember that fight. How dare you read my mail? Yeah, which was completely beside the point, really. But I married him, and I decided while I was in English graduate school to do Asian American Studies. I hadn't really known what it was. I knew I was Asian American. I knew I loved the Joy Luck Club, and I thought, well, this really is what I was meant to do. But where I had gone to graduate school, there wasn't really anybody doing Asian American Studies, so I went to the mecca of Asian American Studies, the University of California at Berkeley. Thank you very much. And, you know, to my parents' credit, they paid for all of it. They paid for graduate school, they paid for me to wander out to Berkeley to find some mentors. And then in 1998, unbelievably enough, Georgetown was looking for a specialist in Asian American Studies. Shocking. And even more shocking, I got the job. So basically, as I often tell my students, I have not been out of school ever. Since preschool, since I was 2 and was enrolled in daycare, I have been in school perpetually since then, and I've never really had any other experience. In 2002, we had our daughter, and all that time, after we had our daughter, my father sort of started losing interest in me and my achievements. And I would say, Daddy, you can't, I've got my book has a publisher. And he would say, oh, how is that little granddaughter? What is she doing? Is she talking? Is she walking? And Daddy, my department voted me for tenure. And he would say, I just found the most wonderful educational toy for Zoe. I'm going to order it from Amazon and I'm going to send it to you. And so I think there are 3 points, takeaway points. Point number 1, if I could tell my father back when I graduated, I would tell him everything is going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I know why parents would worry. Look at them. A bunch of more degenerate people have you ever seen. But I will say that you have raised them well. They're smart, they're resourceful, they're hardworking, they're incredibly, they are incredible achievers, and I have no doubt that they will continue to achieve great things. And to all of you, after having had my daughter, this is the one thing I want to say to all of you. Your parents love you. All they want for you is to be safe and secure and happy and well into this world. And when I think about my father, I think he was thinking, my parents came all the way from China to the Philippines, and you're going to what? Right? You're going to major in English? How? What? How? Who? Where are you going to go? What Asian American people do we know that study English? Like, you don't want to study Asian literature? I know Asian literature would make more sense. English, what is English? And how are you going to make any living doing that? And so they just want you to be safe, and you should appreciate them. And the day that you want them to be stressed and worried about your lives, they will no longer be stressed and worried about your lives. Because, point number 1, you'll be fine. Right? And the third thing, I was thinking about what Christian O said. We should get married. It would be like, so, oh. Oh, so, we could do something like that. So, oh. Right, anyway. It's okay not to do the safe thing. It's okay not to go where only Asian Americans have gone before. And it's not surprising that your parents and my parents want us to be doctors and scientists. That is how they got into the United States, after all. But there are new paths, there are new mountains to climb, and I guess what I would just say to all of you is that I am so looking forward to 20 years from now, when you come back to speak at the Asian Heritage graduation, to tell us about where you've been and the new places that you've gone that we can only yet imagine. So thank you, and congratulations to all of you.
Families, faculty, administrators, and friends for coming out to support your graduates one last time. This concludes the ceremony, and we will be serving refreshments outside the auditorium. Thank you for coming.
graduation!
Yep. Michael Lay, co-coordinator of Asian Graduation. How do you feel now that it's over? It was a big success.
Community theater.
Really good, really good. Can't wait to see you guys next year.
You did a good job. It was great. Great speakers. Will did a good speech. How do you feel about it?
It was an amazing speech. I laughed my butt off, and I hope we have even better speakers next year.
All right, thank you. Enjoy.
That's actually an elevator. Once you've done that, put yourself out there. I'm not sure we have to pursue going out from all over.
He knows the drill. One,
Number one, sustain your life.
to me particularly.
Do you mind actually taking one with my camera as well? All right. Sorry.
Sweet. Can we get some words on Asian Graduation? How do you feel about it?
That was amazing. I am so proud of Michael and Hardy.
Yeah? Yeah, you think it was better than yours? Yeah. You know it was.
No, thank you. Thank you. Treat, can we get a picture too? Yes, yes. Can we get I can take it. Yeah.
No surprise. Yeah, we could. Professor Velez. Wow, you made it lose focus. How do I... Mr. Tran, William, may I have a word with you, sir?
No.
May I have a brief interview?
I don't want to interview.
Yes.
Do it.
You know, just give little words. How do you feel about your speech? How did it go? How did Asian graduation go? And you know, you looking forward to graduating? You looking forward to graduating?
I hope so. I've been here too long. Yeah, no, I don't want to interview. Screw the interview. I don't want to interview.
Wait, what are you doing when you graduate?
Teach for America. I'll be a science teacher.
In Atlanta? What are you? Come on.
No, I don't want to do it.
Memories.
No. You got these memories. You got these the brain and the eyes and the heart. That's awkward. Don't film me.
G, little last words for VSA and for people? Or should I say lieutenant?
Thank you so much.
No, not yet.
Tomorrow? Well, it's okay.
Thank you so much. It was really great. I'm not really a camera person. Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not a camera person.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
We'll see you Saturday.
Saturday.
Graduation, right?